back to another episode of Deconstructing the Narrative. I am your host, and I am also a content creator for SADA Collective. And today with me, I have two guests, which is super exciting. I have Kyle and Corey. How are you guys?
Very good. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, good.
Awesome. Thank you guys for being here. Awesome. So can you guys kind of just give us, for an intro, just like a little bit of a background of what you guys do, kind of let everybody know what you guys are kind of working on right now?
Totally, yeah. So Corey and I guess first and foremost, are just really good friends. We've known each other for, gosh, I don't know how long, Corey, like 10, 12 years, maybe more.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Right around that, yeah.
And yeah, we met in high school, kind of reconnected back out here in Los Angeles. And, you know, in a summation, we're fashion designers. We definitely like to consider ourselves, you know, a bit outside of the scope of fashion in some regards, but the core of what we're doing right now is fashion design. And we have kind of a niche element too, where a lot of our core business is working with artists. So anything from fine art to street art to, you know, the variations in between, we'll create garments from scratch and then work with artists to create, you know, unique cut and sew apparel or stuff that's done, you know, maybe in a bit more of a production style where we'll create 100 of a garment and send 20 out to an artist to do something on top of. And that's largely what we've been working on for the past couple of months, especially in quarantine when it's been a bit more focused with a lot of the stuff that we're doing, you know, specifically online or the designing element. But like I said, we're also trying to touch on the things in design outside of just fashion as well, which is where, you know, we're hoping to take some of what we do together.
That's awesome. And you said that you guys work with a lot of artists. Are you guys working with artists primarily to do like graphics, or are you guys working with them and kind of collabing with them to kind of make the structure of the pieces as well?
Yeah, so certainly right now, definitely a bit more on the graphic side of things. Now, a lot of the artists we work with are not doing like, you know, submitting a JPEG and then we'll screen print the Illustrator file. A lot of it is actual artwork on canvas or artwork on the garment itself. But we have done a lot of things that are like screen printing photos. And ultimately, I think we'd like to do a lot of stuff that works with the creative or the artist in a bit more of the like garment design process. Because right now that's all Corey and I.
Yeah.
But we have some like really cool artists that we're talking to right now that I think, you know, their level of understanding of at least garment production or how artwork can be applied to a number of other mediums is a lot higher than some of the people we worked with initially. So I think there's a lot of room to grow within that aspect.
That's awesome. Awesome. And I kind of want to get a little bit of a background, I guess, on each of you. If you guys could each just kind of talk about your guys' background within the creative industry and kind of what led you guys both to choosing to kind of come together and do this project you guys are working on right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And Corey, I'll let you maybe take a stab at this one first too, because you know, your background is definitely really, really ingrained in, I would say, like the artist creative side of things, the marketing side of stuff.
Yeah, so my background really in the creative industry started, you know, it was probably back in college, and I was trying to figure out really what I wanted to do with myself and where I wanted to go. And I think like really at a high level, it was just moving toward that creative industry goal. And I just picked an advertising degree up and then got into the advertising industry. So actually that's why I moved out to Los Angeles. And, you know, I love it, but I think that part of that, just the ability to be around creative just made me want to kind of take my own path into the fashion industry specifically, just because it's where, you know, it's where my like passion has always lied, is like, you know, probably since high school, just always been very into fashion. And like, it was really like the truest way for me to express myself. And so kind of like the match of working in advertising and being around those creative minds with my true like passion for fashion kind of got me to where I am now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I would say, you know, you've taught me way back, even in high school through college. Like Corey, I think you were one of the people that like a lot of our friends would go to for things like advice in fashion or style and that kind of stuff. And my background is you know, slightly compatible too, because in high school, back when I knew Corey wasn't involved in this, but I owned a clothing company in like 2009, 10, and 11. That was the first clothing company geared towards music festivals. So I mean, obviously like the big EDM boom was around then, and clothing and fast fashion specifically was, you know, really big for that thing. So I had, you know, going into this a bit of the understanding of the operational and logistic side of things.
Right.
And, you know, I think one of the things that makes us a dangerous combination is that because we've known each other for so long, there's, you know, typically very little filter between ideas, or like if we think something, we're just going to let each other know.
Right.
And, you know, I think that plays to our advantage. There's been plenty of conversations that have ended in an argument, and it's like, you know, screw you, I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah. No bad blood ever. Definitely. I mean, I think that's really what has got us to where we are today, is just like that true collaborative spirit. And you know, Kyle and I can really call each other out, and really kind of, there is, like you said, no filter, and it kind of makes for a more like genuine creative space to put together great work.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and I feel like having that like friend aspect to it, you're right, you guys can kind of just throw anything at each other, and it's like you'll get over it the next day. That's awesome. Definitely. Yeah, and I think it's really hard when you're working with people who you're not so comfortable with. You have to kind of go through that period where you're, you know, getting adjusted to each other and being able to just kind of communicate with each other when things are going wrong. It's kind of like a difficult thing. So you guys kind of are all past that. So you guys can just kind of be like, hey, you know what? I don't want to talk to you right now. Awesome. Yeah, awesome. I kind of wanted to touch on, I think, Kyle, I think you were talking about how you kind of worked with EDM artists and stuff in the past. So were you working with like were you doing like the clothing for I guess like the artists, like certain artists, or was it for the festival as a whole? Like kind of, can you kind of give us a little bit more of a background into that?
Yeah, totally. So it definitely wasn't for, I wish it was for specific artists, or even more in the realm of like creating merch at that time. And we definitely worked with a lot of you know, bigger name EDM artists, but it was truly clothing for the festival goer. Anything from, you know, one-piece suits to the glow lights to
awesome,
you know, just like a really interesting cloud tank top that had all of these you know, wild prints and stuff. So it was definitely focused on that. We had a lot of really cool, you know, stories and events where we would go set up at, say, like a festival or something, and be able to intermingle with a lot of the folks who were in the EDM sphere. And I think, you know, both Corey and I actually have a ton of friends who are also in the music industry. So there was certainly a lot of overlap within the Venn diagram of like, you know, who we were talking to and working with. But the clothing itself was really, and I can maybe send you some photos and stuff after.
Yeah,
it's just like a cool
awesome.
To give you a peek. But it was definitely like, and fashion changes so quickly, but you can kind of have a picture of just like, you know, that era of EDM, and you walk into like a Coachella,
100%.
Walk into any, you know, like that was exactly what we were creating at that time.
That's amazing. Awesome. I asked because I go to so many festivals myself, so I'm just like envisioning.
Nice.
That's amazing. Awesome. Perfect. And then I kind of wanted to chat with you guys a little bit, I guess get a little bit deeper into the narrative that you guys are kind of focusing on within your guys' company. So, you know, we've been chatting, the whole purpose of this whole deconstructing the narrative situation that we're doing is we kind of want to chat with artists and go a little bit deeper beyond just what they're doing and more into why they're doing what they're doing. And we really firmly believe at SADA that there's just like a really strong narrative that, you know, there is to uncover behind every artist. And that's truly what makes them unique and what sets them apart. So I kind of want to hear from both of you guys, like what you guys view that narrative as, and kind of what story you're trying to tell to the people who are, I guess, purchasing your pieces.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Kyle, you go first, man.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I think Corey and I actually had even a really in-depth, fun conversation regarding this prior to ever reaching out or kind of taking a look at some of the questions. This was maybe about a month ago, because we really do want to pin down and make it very apparent, like what our why is, and like what some of the values and principles of what we do are. And I think at its core, I mean, working with artists and working with the people that we like in a time where, you know, the hype cycle, quotation marks, really dictates a lot of what people see or what people like. And the word and the root of what we kept coming back to was not necessarily inclusiveness, but really sticking to the things that at our core we loved, not because of any outside influences or hype cycle, but because we believed in it. And so I think that authenticity is certainly something that, you know, in our words and the stuff that we put out there from a PR perspective, we try to convey, but also in our work and also just in day-to-day stuff. That all said, I think that Corey and I are really interested in like what the narrative of all of our stuff that we come out with is, and more so than just like one ethos that is like a driving narrative. I think the thing that like really gets our gears turning is a good story. You know, storytelling is what
Exactly.
influences us really creates like the passion behind whatever it is. And our inspirations are always in flux, they're always changing. So I think no matter what the thing is that we're currently focusing on or building, the ethos of it comes from a good story and that authenticity.
Yeah, and I mean, I think Kyle actually covered really everything I was going to say, but yeah, I guess to further convey that point, yeah, I think that, what makes us like stuff is really having kind of a purpose behind the design. So for instance, when we're looking for these independent designers to work with, or really just to put on our marketplace, we're looking for like that deeper purpose, kind of like what you guys are doing here, finding that deeper narrative, right? So I think that that storytelling element is super important. And yeah, I think that's really all I wanted to add there.
Yeah, and I feel like Kyle, I know you kind of touched on this whole hype that surrounds a lot of things nowadays, and that you use this word that I really like, this authenticity word, that I feel like we kind of lack now with artists. I feel like there's a lot of stuff that comes out that really doesn't have a narrative behind it, and it's mostly just to kind of get the following or the whatever. And so I kind of wanted to touch on how you guys view that within the art industry today, because I think that's so important, and I think that's what really is kind of putting a damper on the art industry as a whole today. I feel like because of social media and because of all the things that have kind of rised up throughout the years, we're losing that ability to kind of understand an artist and connect with an artist. And I know that one of my previous guests I was talking with, she was saying that a big issue that she really sees in the art industry is the fact that there's no connection really a lot of the times now between like an artist and their work, and it's kind of like their own separate entities, and you'll look at a work and not really have that chance because of social media and because of the way that we can like interact with each other nowadays to kind of get to know the artist, which is really important because you need to get to know the artist and their narrative in order to understand like what they're putting out, So I kind of wanted to chat with you guys about that and just see how you guys are kind of viewing the art industry as a whole today.
Totally, yeah. I mean, it's a great question. I think I listened to a couple of the previous interviews, and I think you touched on some of those too, like, just how intertwined the art industry and things outside of what traditionally were art are today. You have Fortune 500 companies who are doing all these activations for every launch, and I'm hard pressed to find a launch that doesn't have some sort of artist either featuring their artwork or creating the branding for it, and it's just become so intertwined. How I would say I view it, it's a really tough question. I mean, I think that like you have a gut feeling when you first see something. Everybody, art is subjective, so like it could be emotional, it could be whatever. And I think that gut feeling plays a large role in how I view just a piece of art, and how that artist is able to tell their story or what the background is behind it. I'm trying to think of some examples that are clearly something that like universally maybe people were like, that was a miss, that was a swing and a miss. But living in LA, I feel like we see it's like it's everywhere. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, Corey, if you have any thoughts on it. I'm trying to gather exactly, what the root of how I feel of some of this is.
Yeah, and I mean, I think to your point, Erica, how I view the connection, the connection between art and the artist and how intertwined it is with brands. I think how I view it is, I think that at least for me, like what I look for is like the actual connection between art and artists, and that's kind of how I try to sift through what I believe to be like the most authentic. Because I think there's a lot of artists out there just trying to do their thing, and sometimes it's just for a quick like or a quick buck. But really, I think that the best designers out there, the best artists out there, are the ones where like through and through their work is authentically them. I'm trying to think of like examples of that from an artist standpoint or a design standpoint, but
and I also like, I think both of us too are very much in support of artists getting their bag, you know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
I don't want to put down the connection between say like Lyft did this really, really cool installation in Miami last year where every car that they had some sort of art on top of it. And I think the reason I'm having a little bit of trouble like pinpointing what it is that, there are things that I like about it and that I don't, but I think it's oftentimes the stuff that we don't resonate with is when there's just like an obvious disconnect between either who that artist is as a person and what the product is that they came out with, or the pairing between the brand and the art itself. There's so many factors that could go into how it's received from the thing that it's put on to the company that's behind it representing it. So I mean, I just think it's so important for artists, especially up and coming emerging artists today, to think about their ethos and their brand mission, to be able to create really great partnerships, whether it's within artists or within the business realm as well.
And I think to add on that, I think that what one thing that has been great just with more brands working with these artists is really bringing like art as a whole, whether it's fine art or visual art, kind of into the like pop culture sphere more, which I think is cool because that kind of encourages other people like myself and Kyle to kind of go after our dream, because we're seeing these seemingly smaller artists work with massive brands like Lyft on like a cool activation.
Exactly.
And I think it, from that standpoint, I think it's been played a really important role in bringing art to the main scene. And now I mean, like, I feel like it's a common subject topic just talking about art now versus like 10 years ago when I would hang out with friends. Like, that's not the thing people would really discuss. And of course, like, some of that's my surrounding and who I'm friends with, right? But I think it's just generally it's brought it into the conversation more, which has been important. And I think it's just a matter of finding that balance of authenticity is like at the core of who you are as an artist or a designer.
Yeah, I definitely think it is all a balance. And I think that, like you guys are mentioning, like, there are very pros and cons to everything that we've kind of come to today. And I think that, I think there's a level of like being able to just like, to like do what you need to do to like secure the bag, you know what I mean? But also being able to still like stand behind the narrative that you're putting out. So I think that's kind of where that things get kind of unbalanced, I guess is a good word, a lot of times. And I think that, I think that that's really important that, artists are able to kind of like do what they need to do, but also stand behind what you're doing and remember why you're doing it. You know what I mean? So I think it's really awesome. And I kind of wanted to talk to you guys, I guess, stemming off of that. And I haven't really actually talked with anybody about this, but I feel like you guys would have some good insight into this, into kind of how you feel like, the rise of social media has kind of impacted the art industry and the way that, artists are viewed today, and the way that you guys feel that you are able to, I guess, like release your stuff. Like, how do you feel like the way that social media is viewed today has impacted that?
Yeah, that's another tough, broad one, but I think it's another answer that has like so many pros, so many cons to it. I mean, obviously the accessibility element of social media, being able to share what you do with people, brings tons of pros and opens so many doors. It also does change the way you perceive art and the way that you digest a lot of this stuff. It takes away some of the special experience of finding an artist in a gallery that nobody's heard of, or you just stumbled upon it, and it brings a bit of that special nature. It also makes the art world a lot more competitive, which is purely from a business standpoint a good thing, and it also kind of a drag sometimes. But we definitely don't have the art that we have today without some of those catalysts within social media. If I had to put an answer on like whether I think it's good or bad, I don't know that I could, because
it's like right in the middle.
Right, everything, it's towing a line. But it's also the type of thing where the world is progressing at such a pace, and all of these things are so essential now that if you don't utilize it, then it's almost like you can't do much. And that's where I think a lot of the like feeling of dread sometimes comes in with, especially like emerging artists, or like people who just like don't necessarily want to be staring at a rectangle for 6 hours, or like curating a TikTok or something like that. It's like, I don't want to do this. I'm an artist, but like, how am I going to get my stuff out there if every 16-year-old kid in the country is only looking at this app on a rectangle?
Yeah, I mean, I same point. Like, there are some heavy pros and cons to both of it, but the good part about it is that it kind of extends the reach more. I think that it gives the ability for artists to show their work to like a broader audience, and you know, and I also like, I think that like the social media era has helped kind of inspire other artists with their art. You know, of course, like whenever we're putting together like a new garment or something of that nature, like I like go to artists' pages and see what they're doing and like how they're constructing, you know, their story in a piece. And I think that it's good for like inspiring and I think that there are those cons as well, but from like a reach and inspiration perspective, I think it's also just kind of an important element now.
Yeah, I think the reach thing is a really big deal. I think the fact that artists are able to have so much visibility now that they wouldn't have in the past, you know. I think there is the pro to, or the con to the fact that you're not having that like direct experience with like a piece of work, you know what I mean? But at the same time, the fact that it can reach so much more people than, you know, anybody who'd be walking down the street and be able to enter a gallery. I think it's kind of like, yeah, there's just this like right in the middle, you know, you're getting good and bad from it. But, you know, at the end of the day, I think the fact that, you know, that you can reach so many people and that artists can also connect with each other a lot more, a lot easier, you know what I mean? And I think that's also really important is the fact that, you know, in order to like to collaborate and do all these other things that like we now are able to do so much faster because we can access people so much quicker than if it wasn't like, you know, in person. Like, let's say there's a gallery in New York and like there's this artist I really love, but I don't live in New York. You know, the ability for me to go and view that piece of art and experience a piece of art is very difficult. And the fact that I can now kind of see it online, you know what I mean, kind of allows me to do that. So I think that's really important. And I think, you know, social media is a power that like people can use or abuse, you know what I mean? And I think that, you know, there's a lot of artists who really have taken it and ran with it. And I think, you know, there's also a lot of artists who kind of abuse the power that it has. It's a very powerful tool. So I think, especially during this time, the fact that we've kind of seen, you know, how important technology is and the fact that I'm sitting here with you guys and able to speak with you guys and kind of get your story, you know what I mean? I think is really important because, you know, during this time, if social media and technology wasn't a thing, like we wouldn't even be able to contact each other, you know? So
I totally have hope for the future too. Cause like, I mean, I think one of the things that like us, our generation, especially growing up on like the early prototypes and the betas of all these Instagrams, like we've gone through the cycles of proto influencers and people on their fake private jets and all of this kind of stuff where the authenticity is just like, what is this photo? And I think the younger generation, how they're using these platforms and how content gets shared is definitely, you know, maybe moving back to more of a root of some of that authenticity. So I will say, I think I have some hope for the future, and shout out to all the artists that are, you know, even through the last like month or so, just through a story of this other creative that we're working with. He posted a story about this COVID safe garage show that was going on in Los Angeles, booked by appointment, took all the precautions, and Corey and I popped down to another place in LA. And, you know, shout out Aiden and the Foam Depot. Because they put on a really cool event that we only would have known of because of a random story from this other creative. So I think to go back to the point about how the younger generations are using it and starting to get a bit more to like being able to see through what is fugazi and what is authentic. You know, the net positive I still think will be there, even if that feeling of like, oh, I just found the perfect piece of artwork in a tiny French gallery may not be what it used to be. I think there's still a lot of net positives.
100%. Yeah, awesome. And kind of, you know, stemming off of, you know, that, I kind of wanted to chat with you guys about, I know you lightly mentioned earlier, kind of, you know, that COVID's really impacted the way that you guys are working, but I kind of wanted you guys to kind of dig a little deeper and let me know how you guys are kind of navigating through this time, because I feel like as creatives, we're kind of missing out on this, you know, aspect of like connecting with each other and having people connect with our work. And I think it's really crucial that artists are kind of discussing how they're utilizing tools and kind of what they're doing during this time to kind of stay, you know, creating and keep kind of sharing with people. How are you guys navigating throughout this time?
Yeah, I mean, it's, I think it's also like everyone, it's definitely been a bit of a challenge, right? But, and I think one thing that when kind of stay in place orders were first implemented, what that was a challenge was just like not having my inspiration outlets, and my common inspiration outlets are like hanging out with people and talking and just like walking around and kind of observing and picking up and seeing what other people are wearing or what other artists are kind of you know, putting together. So you know, and I think like that human element was really my, like, initially it was like something that I was missing, but, you know, now I've kind of had to rethink and restructure my brain to find different inspiration outlets. And now I think, like, in terms of kind of like content creation and clothing creation, we've kind of been doing like a down and dirty job. Like Kyle and I will put together a design together. You know, we'll call up our, you know, the screen printing company we work with, and we've met with like individual designers who are like going to design school, and like they'll help us. And so it's just, you know, it's kind of been a bit more of a scrappy go versus kind of working with our kind of manufacturer partner, which has been cool, because I think, like, I don't think we'll ever go back to doing like a mat, like working with bigger manufacturers on that scale, because we want to kind of work with those small time creatives. So like we are like those kind of newer, fresher minds that are working for themselves, those like solo entrepreneurs. And it's been a lot of fun to meet with those people and kind of collaborate in that way, which has been different. And of course, like a lot of it's like done virtually, but it's been interesting, and I think that's kind of changed a lot of perspective and how we work, and you know, how we'll kind of continue to work moving forward.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's absolutely been an adjustment for sure. I think you touched on it, Cordy, but definitely one of the things that we've kind of reverted back to, or at least put a lot more effort on, is you know, we're not able to meet people in person, so it's the communication side of things, and whether it's DMs or emails, or you know, just trying to apply some good business practices within the realm of the art worlds, trying to take a step more into that. You know, we can't see people in person or call that, or I mean, we can still call them on the phone, but like, you know, that communication is still of utmost importance. So being able to just like focus a bit more on that while not doing in-person creative projects. And then Corey mentioned, like, you know, the inspiration element too, just everyone kind of being in a funk or being inside, and not being able to do some of the things that they look forward to, I think does decrease a bit of the motivation. And Corey and I are actually roommates right now. So I think one of the things that we've put a bit of that creative flow into is just like projects, like stuff at home. Like
that's awesome.
Got some, like, we put up that little plant guy up there yesterday, just
awesome.
like really random, like, you know, like stuff that's just like, oh, we have 6 hours and nothing to do. Let's try to do something creative. That, like,
that's awesome.
Fun stuff like that.
Awesome. That's so cool. Perfect. And then I want to kind of, you know, move over and kind of start talking with you guys about, like, I guess, sources of inspiration. So like, do you guys have any specific designers that you are really inspired by, or even just like any other kind of artist that you're inspired by?
Oh my goodness, so many.
I love this question. Yeah, I mean, there are so many. Kind of like telling someone what your favorite type of music is, right? Like there's so many good artists out there. It's tough to pinpoint one. I mean, I could kind of talk about who I'm hot on right now for sure. I really like Emily Bodie's work. I think she's been doing a really great job putting together you know, cool clothing designs. I think she's like a pretty fresh designer. Reese Cooper's another one. I think he works out in Eagle Rock. He's definitely kind of ventured in and become a pretty big name in the high fashion space. And so love what he's doing. I mean, it's just like, again, all these artists and designers are just authentically them. And I think that's what makes me like them. I think those are two that I can kind of think off the top of my head. I'll let Kyle have a few, and I'm probably going to come back to you with some more too.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll just touch on some brands, some artists, like kind of across the board. I guess an artist that we've been talking to a little bit recently, and somebody who I really think has like a very cool creative vision, is Maison Raksha, Jonathan Raksha. He's a jewelry designer, works with gold, silver, all the standard metals, but the way he approaches like a piece and his creative eye for a lot of things is very unique. And I love the stuff that he's been coming out with. Let's see, other artists that we've been really hot on. We have a collaboration coming up with a girl named Rachel T. Harris. She's an abstract designer from Los Angeles. Really, really cool girl, very smart, really talented. And the garment that we came up with is amazing. Not to toot our own horn. It's
so excited for you.
That's amazing.
So definitely check her out. If you're in LA, go ahead and bang that follow. I've really loved my Basswegian shoes the past couple of weeks. Their shoe company, they make some amazing loafers. Oh, of course, I got to shout out Cleon Peterson. My first tattoo is a Cleon Peterson. Obviously, he's not an emerging artist, but just one of my favorites, and I've really, really loved all of the work that he's done over the years. So definitely somebody I look up to in that regards.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I mean, Kyle covered it. Those are
that's with the best
after I heard Rachel, I heard Basketball. Like, man, he covered it all.
Set. Yeah. Awesome. I know of some and I don't know of some, so I'm excited to go check those out, especially the jewelry one. I'm a huge jewelry person, so I'm excited to go see that. Yeah, please send me that. I would love that. That'd be amazing. Yeah, I love like when jewelers also kind of take an approach of not just doing like fast fashion type shit, but you know, like the stuff that's like really like 100%. Artisan like jewelry. Oh, that's like my thing. That's amazing. Oh yeah. Perfect. And then kind of stemming off of that, do you guys have like a dream project you would want to work on? It doesn't necessarily have to be with one of those people, but maybe it's just something you guys would work on together. Do you guys kind of have like an end goal, I guess, for your career?
Yeah, I mean, a couple end goals for sure. I mean, I think that when we were talking about dream projects recently, I think one that came into mind was working with Costco.
Oh,
and like doing like a cool clothing collaboration with
that's
Costco.
Awesome.
kind of on the bucket list, like making some official like Kirkland signature originals. Like Kyle had this idea way back when, and you know, we kind of brought it back to the light and have been talking a decent amount about it. So that would be a really fun one to do.
That's sick.
Kind of more like a that's kind of like a more hype beast approach to a collaboration, but you know, I think it would definitely you know, I think it'd be a lot of fun to do that. But otherwise, I mean, would love to kind of take our designs to, you know, the various fashion weeks and kind of have like that opportunity, and you know, not necessarily seasonal collections, but kind of I would just love to essentially get more into that space and be able to have a full you know, Paris Fashion Week, Milan Fashion Week show and put that on and produce that. And so I think that, you know, it'd be really fun to tell that story visually and really put my clothes out there and kind of put together like a full, you know, a full collection, working with all the various parties involved. But yeah, what about you, Tom?
Yeah, I would say I mean, first off, I agree wholeheartedly. I'm trying to think of, you know, outside of the like Costco realm and more of our like artistic vision, like who are some people that inspire us that we'd love to work with. And I think one of the things that we referenced a lot early on, especially with all of the art related clothing was, and I actually don't remember the year that this happened, but quite a long time ago, this artist named Sterling Ruby did a clothing collection with 032C, which is this really cool like magazine from Berlin, and they do clothing as well. And I think it would be very poetic or full circle to do something with Sterling Ruby as an artist, because a lot of the stuff that we kind of initially looked to for inspiration was very closely centered or directly related to some of the work that he was doing. So that would definitely be one where it would be very poetic. But there's definitely a lot of other designers and artists out there. I'd love to work with Charlie Giannetti. Charlie Giannetti is more on the clothing manufacturing side of things, but he's the guy who works with Reese Cooper, Bare Knuckles, a lot of these really, really great up and coming Los Angeles companies. So I think that would be my answer.
That's awesome. Awesome. And this question just kind of came to mind, but I'm kind of liking the way you guys are kind of just going off of each other. So I wanted to kind of talk a little bit more. I guess I should have asked you guys this earlier, but just talk a little bit more about how you guys are kind of working together. I know you guys kind of discussed, you know, when things get bad, but I kind of want to talk about, you know, how you guys kind of bounce ideas off each other. Like, what does that look like? Like, what does a day in the life of you guys kind of like working together look like? And I just kind of want to get some advice on that, especially for anyone who's watching who has like a partner or starting a partnership. I think that'd be really interesting to hear.
That's a great question. I mean, I think it's always evolving, right? And that's part of my advice to everyone is like, just keep that in mind. Like, it's the way you collaborate should always be evolving, and being, you know, tweaking to, you know, as we grow as people, right? But you know, how we work, I think like Kyle and I, the approach that we have been taking lately is like, we both will kind of build out our ideas and thoughts, you know, whether it's like website updates or you know, new clothing designs or a collaboration idea, we'll kind of like build that out individually, and then present each other the ideas, and then at which point then we kind of make it a conjoined idea, and we'll tweak it. We'll continue to tweak it until we feel like it's ready to kind of be built into this bigger idea. So I think that yeah, it starts with like us individually, then we bring each other like the thought, or you know, whatever it may be, and yeah, and then we just kind of execute it as a crew.
I think we've gotten a lot more efficient at that too, because like, you know, oftentimes between us, it'll start with a Slack message or something like that, and it's a thought out idea or a concept, and instead of kind of like gassing each other up now, I think we're both at the point where it's a lot more analytical. And so like Corey will send me an idea, I'll send him an idea, and it starts off with like, I like these things, I don't like these things. And then after maybe a couple of rounds of revision, I think we both have a pretty healthy left brain, right brain balance of like an idea will come to light, and then immediately somebody says like, all right, what's the next step? And it's trying to get into, you know, a bit of that like default habit of like, all right, we're at a point where we're happy with this, or we've gotten the feedback and the back and forth that we feel comfortable with. What are the next things that we're going to do? Because I feel like a lot of artists, and especially us when we were going through some of this early stuff, it's like getting caught up in your ideas or getting caught up in a grand vision before you've actually even like created something, you know. Did you do it to the point of like where it's tangible and you found out that you actually don't like it? And so I think we have like started to try to push ourselves to get to that point faster, so that the output of things that we can do is just maybe a bit more than you know, what we've done in the past.
Totally. I think this collaboration aspect is so important too, because I feel like, you know, even if it's a partnership, or even if you're just like collaborating with someone, I feel like there's a lot of competitiveness within the art industry, and there's a lot of like, I don't want to work with someone because I don't want it to like deter or whatever like it's going to show like for me, you know what I mean? And I was speaking with someone else about this as well, but just the fact of like, it's just so amazing when like two artists can just come together and work together, because you have different minds. Like everybody has a different story, everyone has a different mind, and so being able to kind of bounce off of each other, I think is so important. And being able to just like work with someone without feeling like it's like something someone's trying to outdo the other, you know what I mean? I think watching you guys even just speak, it's been very like equal. You guys kind of want to like have equal parts, and I think that's so important. I think that's such an important message for anybody, because I feel like when we lose that collaborative nature as artists, it's going to become really difficult to kind of keep the art industry moving, you know what I mean? So that's awesome.
And I think one more point that I want to add to that is, I think just keeping it light. So like Kyle and I are smiling right now because we're, you know, we'll
were you thinking about doing the guitar shred?
Yeah. But Kyle,
we watched what is that movie?
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. It's
I haven't seen that.
Oh, it's so funny.
We were cracking up last night because these two are like good friends, but then anytime something really cool would happen, they'd both look at each other and do this like little air guitar solo.
So I know we just wanted to close the comment out by saying like, it's just important to keep it light. Like you gotta be able to joke, and like you've gotta, you know, be able to kind of rag on each other sometimes, because it kind of helps that healthy collaborative nature. But anyway, that's I had to add that point because we were laughing.
Don't keep things too serious. That's so important too. I feel like if you guys are always coming at each other super serious, it's gonna be like, it's gonna get old quick. You know what I mean? So that's awesome.
For sure.
Exactly.
That's definitely really great. Perfect. And then just kind of moving towards, I guess, the end of this, but I kind of wanted to chat with you guys about, I guess, what kind of message you guys hope to leave behind. Like, let's say when you're gone, and let's say your brand is still here and existing, and people are still able to view your pieces. What do you hope that people take from it when they view, I guess, your work?
I guess I'll. Oh, go ahead if you want to.
No, please. I'll you.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, Corey and I don't have a traditional fashion school background or design school background. You know, I've always wanted to go to RISD, but I never took the leap, never did it. So I think that like one thing would be just like if somebody was coming up and looking at it, being like, oh, if I put my mind to it, or if I really have an interest in this thing, I can do it. Sounds a lot more cheesy saying it out loud than it was in my head, but it definitely, you know, we don't have that traditional schooling. It's just something that we both had a passion for, and we decided like, hey, we're smart enough. We're looking at the landscape, like, you know, if we want to do this, let's do this.
Yeah, no, definitely exactly what Kyle said. I mean, just we want, you know, Ochi Park, and, you know, our design collective separately, but together to kind of symbolize that, that ability to kind of do it, even if you don't have the background, just if you, put enough hard work into it. It just to be that, I think you just want to be that inspiration that like anyone can really do it. And it's just like, that's what we want OG to stand for. Is like, you can do this, and, it's going to be tough, but if you'll be able to kind of come on the other side and have this final product.
I think it's awesome that you guys don't have that traditional school background as well, because I feel like, a lot of the times people think that they need to go get a degree, especially with art. We have so many resources available to us and so many people who are so willing to lend a hand. And I think the fact that, you can kind of just take that and run with it, because the school path isn't for everybody. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I did go to art school, but I feel like it was just like, it was difficult. You know what I mean? I have that side of a brain, but there were a lot of times where I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I feel like I just take this on my own, So like, yeah. I feel like, that is so important. And I think, a lot of people should kind of look into, if you don't have that brain for school, like, it's not necessary. You know what I mean? Just take advantage of like the resources available and the people around you. And, I think a lot of the time, like, you'll see like a self artist that's excelling much more than someone with a degree, which I think is really cool too. We kind of live in a time where that's all possible. And honestly, like, a degree doesn't really mean anything unless you use it. So
yeah, no, awesome. Totally.
It's awesome that you guys
absolutely. And you mentioned surround yourself with good people too. And I'd be remiss not to mention our third partner in this, who's Conrad as well. So Corey and I are largely impart a lot of the design element of some of this stuff, but nobody gets anywhere in life without good help and good people. And Conrad was Conrad and I, came up with this idea for a lot of this a long time ago, and he's been very integral to it. So shout out to homie.
Yeah, awesome. shout out to Conrad, the third partner.
That's amazing. Awesome. Perfect. Oh, you guys should have had him on to here as well. It would have been a party.
Yeah,
straight up.
Awesome. Perfect. And then I also wanted to just, lastly ask each of you to kind of let in what advice you would give to any creative who's starting out within any field. Just kind of like, I feel like, young creatives, it's really hard and it's very intimidating, especially with social media and the way that everything's handled. And kind of like we were discussing earlier, the fact that like, it's really hard, which is a good and bad thing, but really hard to penetrate into the industry and feel like you're kind of being seen. So what advice would you have for, I guess, a creative who's starting out, their craft and kind of how to navigate the creative industry right now?
Yeah, I think that, there's no way to not be cheesy with this answer when I'm going to say it. So, I think it's just kind of going with your gut. I think that oftentimes, I can cite many examples in the past few years that we've been doing this together. But and I'll get caught up in an idea and just self rag on it, and then never just execute it because I didn't go with my initial gut feeling to just put it out into the world. And I think the moments where Ochi's been most successful is when Conrad, Kyle, or myself just goes with our gut and just does it. I think that whether if it feels right, then do it, and if it feels wrong, then don't do it. And I think that it sounds really simple, but I think it can be that simple whenever you're kind of navigating the creative industry or trying to put out your own work to the world, or just creating something in general. I think you just need to go with what you feels right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll add to that, I'll say, create good routines. I think the creative industry, more than other industries even, is not a straight line. It's a curved line of ups and downs and slopes and hills and all of these things that you need to be resilient through all of these things, and creating good routines, even outside of your art, not just the practice that you put into whatever your artwork is, will pay dividends. I think throughout the years, not the myth, but the kind of mystery behind the tortured artist, or the need for an artist to live this tortured existence, is not prevalent anymore, and it doesn't resonate with quite as many people. So if you're an artist, create good routines, make sure that you're healthy and thinking clearly, focus on your art, surround yourself with really good people, because that's how you'll grow.
100%. Yeah, I think that's really important to also just kind of stick with, because we live in a time where things can get really jumbled, and you can get really distracted really easy. And I think, just having that healthy lifestyle and that background of just what you're doing every single day. I'm someone who loves to write everything down personally. Like, I need to write every single thing down that I'm going to do it during the day. Otherwise I will not do it. So that's just my mode. But I think 100%. Everyone finding their method of you know, how they're going to stay focused and stuff is really important, especially in LA, because it's so easy to just like get distracted and fall into the flow of things. And there goes like a whole year that you didn't do anything, you know, so.
100%. Yeah.
There's a chaotic energy to LA without a doubt.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. And then lastly, just a fun question that we've been asking everyone, but I get 2 answers now, which is really cool. I wanted to hear what your guys' favorite song is.
Ooh. That is a tough one.
I'm gonna opt for you to go first, Corey, so I can get a couple more seconds to think.
You know, I love so much like I love a lot of different genres of music, but I think that jazz is my favorite, and for that alone, I'll say Blue and Green by Miles Davis. I think is like the ultimate vibe. It kind of gets me thinking, and you know, I think it's just like a comfort food to listen to that.
That's awesome.
I've been listening to a lot of some of the stuff I loved in college, which is like Arctic Monkeys and some Chili Peps recently. But I want to give a shout out. I'll say my favorite song right now is by an artist from Corey and I's hometown, or our hometown of Naples, Florida. His name is Yeek, and Yeek is he lives out here in Los Angeles now. But check out his discography. Hit him up on Spotify, because Yeek, Y-E-E-K, makes awesome music. Very cool surf LA vibes.
Oh, that's awesome. Perfect. Cool. Yeah. At the end of all of this, I want to do like a huge playlist with everybody's music and release it. I think that would be so cool. Yeah. So awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for sharing. I really appreciate it. It's been so fun having both of you. And I'm glad because you guys are my first double the trouble. So it's been so good having you both. And you guys did that. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's been so much fun. I'm really glad that Kyle let me know that you guys wanted to kind of do this together. It's been awesome. Yeah. So thank you guys so much. And I'm so excited to kind of send everybody your way and check out your stuff. And can you guys both give me, or I guess the listeners, some sort of contact information just in case they want to reach out to you guys?
Totally. Yeah. And actually, this is a good clarifying point too, because so Corey and I have created, and Conrad have created this business, and our moniker so far has been Ochi Park, OCCIPARK. Feel free to shoot us a DM if you want to hear about some of the story and the background behind the name. But we are actually just created our design moniker, Windmills. So Windmills on Instagram, just like it's spelled, no underscores or anything. And for other creatives out there, especially in Los Angeles, we're turning Ochi Park into a curated marketplace, or a designer-led marketplace.
Oh, amazing.
And we're putting out our pieces under Windmills. So it will be a lot of independent local designers from Los Angeles that we're starting out with. And shoot us a DM. We'd love to hear from all of you.
That's awesome. What does Ochi Park mean? You said there's a story, and I want to know it.
I love the question. Yeah, I think that I'll let Kyle take most of this, because it roots from an experience that he had he had in the Netherlands, actually. But Kyle, you give the spiel.
Yeah, so I lived in the Netherlands for just over a year, and it was in Amsterdam. I lived in Tilburg, but there was this club that I always used to pass, and it was this really old like wooden church, and the name on it had this crazy wooden sign out front, massive, like 10 feet, with all these cool colors. And the name was Ochi, O-C-C-I-I. So it had an extra I, different phonetics in Dutch as well. But the core of the club and what they stood for was like independent music and giving these up and coming artists a platform. So it almost kind of translated into a lot of what we ended up doing. And yeah, Park, I was in Vondel Park at the time that the idea kind of came to it, and it was a combination of dropping the I and phonetically changing it to Ochi, and adding the park to Ochi Park.
Awesome. Cool. Awesome. A little last minute story. That's so cool. Awesome. Well, thank you guys again so much. And everybody watching, make sure you reach out to them and check out their stuff. It's been so much fun talking with them. And I hope they give you some advice on kind of how to navigate and collaborate with other people, because I think that's so important. And I'm so glad that we had two today to kind of lead the way on how to do that. So thank you guys so much. And make sure for anyone watching, we release new episodes of Deconstructing the Narrative every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. And if you text a black heart emoji to 388-9808, you'll actually get a notification every time the new episode goes live. So I would do that because we have so many amazing people we've been speaking with, and it's been so fun. And if you are an artist, or if you have any artist friends who you think would be great to interview, please send them my way. You too as well. If you guys have any friends who you think would be great for this, I would appreciate that so much. It's been just so much fun uncovering everybody's stories. And I'm really glad that we're giving you guys a platform to kind of discuss your background and stuff, because I feel like, you know, with social media, a lot of the times, all of that gets lost in translation. So I just think it's really great that you guys are able to do that. So thank you guys again for joining me, and thank you everybody for watching. And I look forward to doing the next episode. So I'll talk to you guys soon.
Thanks, Erica.
Bye. Bye, guys.
Thank you.